Good morning. Now it's Erev Pesach. It's Erev Yudalef Nissan. It's busy times. So thank you very much to everyone who made the effort to join live. It's only massive to the Lebendigkeit and the Frischkeit. So what we're going to be doing today is a synopsis, a sikkum of everything that we've been doing till now, and an emphasis on applying in Aveda the practical application of what we're learning, the Milchama with the Meitzar HaGoron, the Yitzias Mitzrayim, how it comes out in Aveda b'Pashtus. So there are some over here who haven't been with us with the program in Chassidus. So the emphasis it's Latevus everyone to first get a kitzer advarim of what we've been doing till now, and then to zoom in on some of the pratim of the Sugya, how the Pel Mamish Dikein. So what we'll do over the next hour, we'll split up first a kitzer, then to bring out the Hadgasha, the Vort of what is the idea of Meitzar HaGoron, why is it so central in Aveda. Then we're going to see some specific practical things which are brought out in the various Mamarim. And then really what we want to get to is, there's a Vort of the Rebbe over here, Rabbi mentioned it in Shiur, Bekitzer, is at the end of the Maimer of Yudalef Nissan Tafshin Mem Gimel, there's a unique approach which l'cheire la'achar ha'iyun, it looks like this is something which is b'emes yesod in Bechlal, the way the Rebbe looks at Yitzias Mitzrayim, and it's really miyused on Teira'ir Parshas Yisrei. Hopefully we'll have time to get into that. So Bekitzer Nimritz, what we've been doing till now is like this. A Yid, in order for him to connect to the Eibishter B'Eifem Pnimi, the way Chassidus Chabad emphasizes that our kesher with the Eibishter can't just remain B'Eifem, that the Etzem HaNefesh is connected in Eifen of Emunah, or the Mesiras Nefesh, or Kabbalah Seil. No, we want to have a kesher Pnimi with the Eibishter, which in Chassidus Sprach means as geht durchnehmen the Keches Pnimim. It should be Beis Yashvus, I should understand, I should have a relationship, it should permeate the person. The only way for this to happen is through Meichen. What's the unique advantage of Meichen? Because Meichen is bittul, and bittul allows for something other than for the truth to be made. In the Sprach of the Maimer, in Tavrish Nun Hey, Meichen is also la'atzmai. So it's closer to the Etzem HaNefesh of a Yid. So what he knows to be true in his Etzem could settle and could resonate in his Seichel. His Seichel could be maskim to this truth. Obviously, this in itself is an Aveda. And this is the Aveda Yedua of Arab-bringen, the Inyanim von Emunah into Seichel, which is the Chiddush of Chassidus Chabad, that the Baal Shem Tov brought out the Etzem HaNefesh of a Yid, as a Yid can sagen Baruch Hashem, and through that he's connected to the Eibishter. But the Alter Rebbe said, no, we want that through Meichin, that through in the Meichin itself should be Meir Dems, and the Inyanim von Achtes Hashem shouldn't just be in the Eifen of Emunah, nor soll sich herab legen in Seichel Anushi. The pastors, this is the regular approach. Why Dafke Seichel? So it's Kanal, because Seichel is bittul, and Seichel is la'atzmai. Like the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Tes, Mokim Mishkin Nefesh Elokis is b'meich shebarosh. Problem is that if it's going to be only in Meichin, it's not going to overtake the person. Because the person himself, if we want that he should be engaged, we need to have the midas. We saw kama languages. First in the Teira'ir, there's binyan ha-simcha. So if the inyan hagilui, which is simcha, is expressed in Meichin, True Gilui is when there's no Hagbalas, and Eim Habonim Smecha, that there has to be not just that it's in Meichin, but it's Eim Habonim. When there's going to be Tuldus, there's going to be Midas. And that's really when we could say that there's a Simcha of the Eibishter, which is Beis Galus in the Yid, because he's spreading forth without any Hagbalas. There's no space. Even the Yeshes, the person, the personality of a Yid, is also being permeated with Alakus. In Tavresh Nun Hey, we saw noch tiefer. It's not just technically we want to reach further and further, break through every Meitzar. The Maila of Midas is that the Midas is Zo Ba'atika Achid V'Talya, which is in Kabbalah, it says in Seder Ishtalshalus, it means that the Midas are connected with Atik, with the Etzem of the Eibishter. And in the Nefesh Adam Lamata, it means that the Midas of a person are really connected with the very eye. And that's why when you see that a person has a chayes in doing something, he's present, he's fully involved, it's because he's emotionally engaged. That's the only way to bring a person into the table, that he should taka be here. Mihai time megufe, that's why it's so hard to reach the Vashevetz Alavavecha. That says, because it's so important, and because it's I, so the Chisaron Shabazay is that it's a Yeshes, it's further away. Aber Hagufa, that's why we want to reach that place. And that's the takeoff of Midas. This is something that we want to conquer, and this is the essence of Aved. Mizokt Alamol, Chabad is misunderstood often in the world. People think that Chabad is a Seichel de Kichsidis. It's about Seichel. It's about Haskol. So there are those who serve the Eibishter with heart, and the Alter Rebbe said, no, we serve the Eibishter with our mind. So anyone who's familiar with the Yesedus of Chassidus Chabad is Chas v'Sholem. The Matar is Vashavei Salavavech. What the Alter Rebbe is saying is that the key, the only way to bring a Lekus, it should be Takemeir in the heart, that's through Meichin. Because Maki Mishkin Avshalakis B'Meich Shabarash. Or Misham, and from there it comes to the Kolel Yamali, and then hopefully it will also reach the Kolel Asmali of the left. So, in one word, Aveda is not Seichel, but Aveda is B'derech HaSeichel. Chabad is the Mahalach of Aveda. It should be Midas Al Pi HaSeichel. What's the problem? Problem is that there's between the Meichin and the Midas, there's a blockage, which is what we call the Meitzar HaGoron. Now, this Metzias of Meitzar HaGoron is a very interesting thing. There's no Aver in Nefesh, so to speak, which in Yoni is Meitzar, which in Yoni is to be in between. There's only Eser Keichas HaNefesh. There's Meichin and there's Midas, and then there's Klei HaMaaseh. What's this musig of Meitzar? Al derech zeh l'mayla. L'mayla we have Eser Sfiris. There is no such musig as something in between the Meichin and the Midas. So Begashmi is, what is this thing, the neck? As we know, every Ever Hagashmi is really a kli for Evari HaNefesh. So if the Meach is a kli for Seichel, the Lev is a kli for Midas. What's the neck? Another interesting thing about the neck is that it's the most narrow place Begashmis in the Gufad. Zogt Chassidus, and it's really miyusad already in Kisvei Arizal, that the Meitzar HaGoron is especially designed like this. In order for it to be a healthy transition from Meichin to Midas, you have to have what's called a vacuum, an ayin band. Why? So this was a long discussion in our limud, why it's necessary to have this ayin b'emtza. If it's only to be a hefsek, between the Meichen and the Midas, or it's really more than that, like the Lashon in Nun Hey is that it's a Chane, it's the Bittel, the Ayin. But we saw various dogmois in Shavipul Tzadik V'Kom and the Rekoven Hagarin, how between the Meichen and the Midas, there must be, between one Metzias and another, there must be some kind of emptiness. Therefore, in an ideal world, the way the Alter Rebbe Chassidus has taught us, if a person wants to have a full pnimistic kesher with the Eibush, which means that there should be Vashavesel Avavecha, the system is the Erstons through Meichin Nemech Demes, and that's the Yesod of Aved. Then there has to be a Meitzar, some kind of Ayin. After the Meitzar kommt the Harchave, which is the Eretz Avos Cholav Udvash, the full Eira Meichin is made in the Midas Vashavesel Avavach. The problem is that whenever you have Heder HaGilui, that Gufa gives you Nikah for Chitzain. So in the Gorin is also Begematria Choron, which is Charei Nafshel Mokim. It's a place of Hester and Elokus. In this place of Gorin is Pari Esias HaEref, grabs onto the nape, the back of the neck, and takes advantage of this Heder HaGilui and uses it out for the Gimel Sare Pare Klippus in Aveda to schlep a person that he should become involved in Yonei Elam Hazeh, whether it's the Tainug in Yonei Elam Hazeh or the Kochen in Yonei Elam Hazeh. The various Ifanim have to schlep a person and create some kind of, not just a Meitzar, which is a straight, which is a very narrow place between the Meichin and the Midas, but to create a block. As what's true in the Meichin shouldn't be, soll sich nicht anhören in the Midas. What's called in other places in the Chassidus, Timtum Aleph. I know the truth, but it doesn't speak to me. I'm apathetic. I'm not, because it's not taking me on an emotional level. And this is the nekudah of the problem of the Chassid Chabad. The Seder Aveda is that I want to have to din in the Eibishter Beifim Pnimi. But he ends up being frustrated because he was working Beifim Pnimi. And he was working in the Eivim that he wants to have Meyach, and it should be Meyach Shalat Alalev, and it should be Eim Abonim. But then we got stuck. Maybe even to say it sharper, he ends up Isol nicht dahin und nicht daher. Das heißt, the Eben wollten nicht angeheben mit der ganzen Seder von Chabad. So gut, sa Pashta Yid, Pshitas Pashtas von Ayid, and Pshitas Atzmus, mit Amunah, mit Kabbalah Sel, all say good. But because I got involved in Aveda Pnimis, and I wanted to start learning Chassidus and understanding Chassidus, and with a plan, that therefore this should take me Beivim Pnimi, and over here I get stuck with the Meitzar. And this is what the Alter Rebbe calls Mitzrayim is Meitzar Mi. Mi is Gematria Chamishim Shari Bina. So there's a Meitzar on the Bina, there's a Meitzar on the Meichin. And this Mitzrayim is what we call the Reish HaGolis. All problems in Aveda begin with the fact that the Meich is not Meir Ba'alev. Therefore, we're going to have all kinds of Lev. We could have the Shiva Amamin, each one of them a different kind of Midara, the Sheva Midas, which are going to develop. But the Sibah for them out, like it says in the Chassidus that Mitzrayim is not considered one of the Dalet Golias, because he's the Reish of the Golias, he's the Sibah for all Golias. Be'etzim kol Golias nikrois Hashem Mitzrayim. It's the very concept of Hester on Elokus, which Pari takes advantage of to reinschleppen on a person into Yonei Elam Hazeh, and he shouldn't have a hergish alik. Adkan is Bekitzer Nimritz, what we've been doing for the past 2 months, the issue in Aved. What do we want? We want to somehow, V'yodu Mitzrayim, V'yada is Melashon to break. We want to have das, to penetrate this Meitzar HaGoron. As Eichen Mitzrayim, Pari should be made as Etzba Elikimi. It soll sich anhören ki ani Havai. That's what we want to get to. That to break through the Mitzri, this Meitzar, and it should be the ultimate goal of Yitzias Mitzrayim, to come to Eretz Avos Chalav Udvash, which is the point of after the full Membeis Masoyos, which is traveling out of Mitzrayim, is to reach this place of Gid. Now, here comes the issue. Till now, it was just a sikum klole of what we were learning. In our Mamorim, we talk about the ideal world of giving birth to midas with an ayin be'emtza. We talk about the problem, which is the Meitzar HaGoron. And we also discuss some kind of perfect Yitzias Mitzrayim, b'zeh gufa, it's an eifin of Lailo, an eifin of Yeh. The Pashat Kasha is, how do we get there? So, there's a hisbananus of Laila, Nafshi Visicha, the hisbananus of Yem, Im Chalecha Fatzli. But Hagufa L'chura is our problem. Meaning, L'cheira, this is what we were dealing with, is this issue of the Meitzar HaGoron, is that after all is bonus, and it's not going to speak to the lev. So the shaila is pashat on a practical level. What is the eitzah for the Meitzar HaGoron? What's the solutions Chassidus is offering? Now, before we get into the various mahalchim that we've seen in the Ma'amarim and try to make a seder, it's worth being makdim another important nukud. This concept of the Meitzar HaGoron is not just a technical bug, or like we say, it's an issue that we have to find a solution for. Kol inyan ha'aveda is Meitzar HaGoron. This is where the Aveda lies. There's a Meridik Sicha, kedai to see inside. Chelik Yud Vayigash Aleph. I think it's Vayigash Aleph in Chelik Yud. Over there, the Sicha is very famous for the second half of the Sicha. But in the first two ACS, the Rebbe discusses over there the Meitzar HaGoron. The Kasha the Rebbe asks is, why is it that when Yosef met Binyamin, Vayipel, Yosef al Tzavri Binyamin, or Binyamin boch al Tzavarav, they cried on each other's neck. So, fragt sich the Kasha, L'cheira, what's this inyan of crying on each other's neck, Dafkin? It states that they were crying for each other's Beis HaMikdash. What's the shaykhis of Beis HaMikdash to neck? Sagt the Rebbe, because Migdal David Savarich, like it says, that the nicest place, the most the place where Yofi is most expressed is Dafke in the Tzavar, and therefore that's the place where the Beis HaMikdash is. Also Begashmis is as it. The highest part of a person is his head, but the Beis HaMikdash wasn't the highest place in the world. The Beis HaMikdash was, as we know, there was Ein Itam, there was a fountain, a water that was higher than the Beis HaMikdash, higher than the floor of the Azara Chav Gimel Amma. It was a technical thing in order for the water to be able to rise in the Beis HaMikdash, so it had to come from an even higher place. So Begashmi is the Beis HaMikdash wasn't built on the highest place. Therefore, also in the person, what's the remez in the Gufa Adam? Where's the Beis HaMikdash? Is Tzavarich, the Tzavar, which is not the highest place. Fragt sich aber der Kasche, because of some technicality, so therefore we're going to say that the Beis HaMikdash shouldn't be built in the highest place. Find some other solution for the water. L'cheire, mered doch that the higher it is, there's a bigger mile. And that's why the Beis HaMikdash has to be built vasheche. So why do we suddenly at some point say, no, not the highest place mamish, let's stop? Al derech zeh is we're going to be talking Begashmis. Yosef is facing Binyamin, so where do you want to meet him? In his face, in his head. So no, just one notch lower by his neck. Zog der Rebbe Ameridike Wort. The Beis Hamikdash represents all of Aveda. What's Aveda? To make a dira b'tachtein. To know the truth, but that it doesn't come v'asheveisa levavecha, is not dira b'tachtein. Le'idach, if we're going to talk about the heart is tachten. There's no Gilead Elyon. What encapsulates in one word the Gilead, the way the Elyon is coming into tachten? Where do we have the meeting place of Mechin coming into Midas? That's the Tzavar. And that's why we say, what's the Beis HaMikdash? Ke Migdal David Tzavarech. It's designed, lechatchila, not just technical. That it should not be the highest place. It should be high, was heißt high, it should be Gilu, should be connected. But Bezeh Gufa, one notch lower, because we're beginning to make a Dira B'Tachtein. We're reaching towards the heart. This is the Nekuda of Aved. So, in other words, the Meitzar HaGoron, or this battle of Yitzias Mitzrayim, is not just technically that we're saying, okay, we have to find some kind of solution how we reach the heart. This is the takes the whole yesod of Aveda Pnimis, of Avedas Chabad, is how can we say in one word, as the emes should be meir, obviously is on midurchnam. Where do we meet that place? That's the Tzavar, the Meitzar HaGoron. So, back to our question, practically speaking, what's the Eitzah? What's the Mahalach? So let's just summarize where we're holding. What we did is Sachakel, a sikum kloli of what we've learned this past 2 months, and with a hadgoshe that this inyan of Tzavar, like it says in Chelik Yud and Vayigash, this is the Nekuda of Aveda, this is the Beis HaMikdash, this is the Dira B'Tachteinin, and the question is, how do we deal with it? What are the Mahalach? So, what we want to do now is, first of all, just run through various Nekudas which were brought out in the Ma'amarim, each one of them adding another Nekuda, a way how to deal with the Meitzar HaGoron problem. And then we want to get to the Rebbe's Mahalach, where the Rebbe L'Cheira brings in a new Frischkeit, but once you see what the Rebbe is saying, if you go back to, as you said, in Yisrei, in Tere'er, we see that really the Alter Rebbe already said this word, Benegeya, the dealing with the Meitzar HaGoron. In our Maimer we had in Tere'er, first of all, a Mahalach of Meriris. Was heißt? That in order for a person to get to a place where the Meichen should be Meir Ba'alev, so the way to deal with the Meitzar HaGoron is Aganze his bonanus, that a person should feel bitter in his state, in his matzav and aved. L'cheire, it doesn't say this clear, but l'chure bepashtus, this aveda of meriris is bechlal not the aveda of dealing with the Meitzar HaGoron, or bepashtus. What we're looking for is that the Meichen should be meir ba'amidas. The only way that could happen is if I'm going to build a bridge. Meriris is not a bridge. In the Chassidus Sprach, Meichen is Gilui. We want that there should be Gilui, or in the Lashon of the Maimon of the Alter Rebbe, Simcha from the Meich should be Meir Ba'alev. This Meriris is not going to do that. What's the purpose of Meriris? In Pashat Verte, Meriris is Ein Shlili, to make me a Keli. It's the Tnai in Aved. There's a very Reiche Lashon that the Rebbe uses in L'Chamar Libi, Tov Shin Chof. It's talking about the Aveda of Meriris with the Lev. It says it's Charisha Bekarka Levav. Charisha Bekarka Levav means that So ackern, in Yiddish sagt man ackern, in English it's to plow. Plowing has nothing to do with planting. You've done nothing. I have a barren field, and after I've plowed it, it remained the same. The only difference is that when I'm going to be Zereya, it will have where to fall. Likewise, when I say that I have to have meritis, there was some conversation about this on the chat. What's meritis doing? Meritis is obviously not doing anything. We haven't in any way brought the gili, which is Meir Bahameach, into the lev through meritis. Well, why should it do it? With some kind of magic. What meritis is saying is that the ikshus, the kshei erev legreyase, this in the tzavar is doch da, the erev pariyese is erev the akshans. That what's true is true, but im cause I don't care. That I don't care gets broken. It breaks the apathy. Now, just because I've broken the Mitzrayim and he's not apathetic anymore, doesn't mean that now the Meichin could be, it's going to be made. I still have to go back to the Meich and to bring it down. So, Bezeh Gufa, there's a few mahalach. One mahalach is what he calls Teir. Teir is Pashat, it's as the Emes Meir say. Aber sof. Obviously, when it comes, we're talking over here, Aveda Pnimis, to speak to the language of heart. So Teir is not. Teir is as the Emes is Meir. So maybe if we're talking in Simcha, in Gili HaNefesh, it's going to happen. But if we're talking about developing, being Meile da Ave, Les Pulchene Kepulchene Derechimusse, is clear that we have to have something which is engaging more to the language of the heart. So in a way, Taka, the Teira Mahalach is higher, because the Emes is Meir, but it's not speaking the heart sprach. What's the Eitzah? How could we deal with the heart? So in our Maimer, it doesn't say it clear, but we had the Maimer from Samachei. Over there, it talks a word of a nig. It says after a person has the and going through the whole seder of Meichen Sheba Midas and Midas Sheba Meichen, but he wants to create some kind of a relationship between the Meichen and the Midah, he has to use the tool called a nig. Now, what's this word of a nig? Bepashtus. Weiter. There's something over here which is al derech the meritis. It's just like warming the heart. It's like getting me involved. But the emes is l'chayra. Again, this is already not so steht nicht. This is just thinking aloud. There's an advantage in a nigen because nigen taka has some kind of memutze. In a way, it has the mila of meichen and has the mila of midas. Obviously, a nigen is midas. By definition, what's a nigen? It's experiential. Like we discussed, a nigen is a midah is something which you could experience again and again, and you don't get bored because it's not some objective truth. It's about me. So there's no reason why it should ever finish. That's the way midas work. And nigen is like that. Adarabba, the more familiar I am with the nigen, the more it's geschmack. But here's the difference between a regular emotion and a nigen. What's the mila of meichen over midas? Bepashtus. Why is with the beginning of Aveda with meichen? Because it's accessible. There's a language. There's a handle. There's a way where I could grab onto this emes and take it. Bepashtus. Mimont by a yid. We explained that the answer is Vizbeinanta. The Aveda is to think. What happens if I can't think? So what's the teretz for that? You have to think more. Because in the end, every person has seichel. And every person has a kayach to think. And no one's parted from this Aveda. Because in learning, intellectually, a person could always learn and understand. Here comes the chidush of a nigun. A nigun is clearly midas. But there's a way to do it. Every person could, push it by force, take a nigun and experience it. Because it's kilo, I've taken a hergish and I've put it into language. It starts getting the mile of making. There's some kind of formula over here. It's not just pure hergish. It's hergish with a mizgeres. Memela, it's, so to speak, the bridge, as we can make in Meir Zayin Ba'amidis, is if you take a stuck. So then the hergish. How are you going to take the hergish? I have an eitzah for you to have some kind of a handle on the hergish. Now, it's always important to bavaran again. The point over here is not the hergish. The point is that the meichin should be meir by hergish. Let's speak with the conversation over here is to bring our sugya down into practical aces. The Alter Rebbe has established a seder aveda of derech haruka uktzar. There is another option, which is called derech tzar, and there are yidden which adayim practice this. You sit down together. Let's create hergish. It's not so hard. Let's put ourselves in a certain mode, whatever it is which creates a makif, certain environment, certain language, certain clothes, certain nigunim, and we can dance, all the different tenuas, which creates hergish. Why lechatchila to work in such a lopsided way? You're coming through meichin and you're going to get stuck, and eventually you want to come to a hergish. Why don't you just go with derech tzara, go lechatchila to the hergish? Zog the Alter Rebbe that going to the hergish, you bichalal haven't invited the Eibishter into yourself. Hergish is yeshes. If I'm experiencing it, by definition, that's not the Eibishter. Because in a nivra hu yichelim ladu. Min manavshach. In a nivra zol zayin beire. They are by definition opposites and they're mutually exclusive. So if there is going to be gila lukus, it's only going to be a meichin. Meichin has the unique quality of bittul. Maki mishkin efshal lekis b'meich. And therefore the emes could be meir over it. What's the ultimate aveda? Is that what I know? And how do I know it? Because Atachin and Ladam Das, the Eibshter gave me this matana of recognizing emes, which is beyond me. This thing I'm going to invite into me. What's the purpose over here in the ning? Not to leave the emes and to suddenly, okay, so now enjoy the ning. The purpose is this emes which I have to now let it settle. How could I bring in the midas? So first of all, I have to have a lev nishbar. That's midas. Just that the midas shouldn't fight to take away the akshanas of the midas. Then there's another inyan is that to bring down the meichin should be made by midas. So I have kilonemar, a language, some kind of way of unchappen the midas, which is the inyan anagin. So this inyan anagin is aveda pnimis. We know, it's just interesting to note, as Zapela de Gezach, but it says that the Alter Rebbe, one of the things that when he went the first time to the Magid, that Magid was megala by him, the inyan hanegin. I'm not sure exactly what this means, if the Alter Rebbe wasn't aware of by himself that he had a keich hanegin, had a chush. I mean, it would be a mufladik thing to say. It's L'chure, Alter Rebbe, l'chol adeyes as a hafloa in the inyan hanegin. And to say that Alter Rebbe didn't recognize him, so can't say that, but Magid was megala by him. Or it means that in Aveda, the Magid showed him how his Aveda could be done through the Aveda of Negin. But it says that the Alter Rebbe, when he came back from the Magid, the first Leila Seder, after being by the Maggid, he spent with his Talmidim. The Alter Rebbe already had a group of Chavrei that he was Madrich with Kavanas Hashlo, with the various Inyanim and Aveda, even before he went to Mezrich. So when the Alter Rebbe came back, he spent the whole Leil HaSeder singing Nigun, which is interesting. It's just interesting to see where was the Alter Rebbe first Megala, this Inyan of Negina, the Aveda of Negina, which is the Chibur of Meichen and Midas. To use the Keich of Negina, to bring these two together, was Dafke B'Leil HaSeder, which is the Aveda of Yitzias Mitzrayim. This is the Milcham and the Meitzar HaGoron happens through Negina. Now, when the Alter Rebbe said this inyan of using of breaking the meichin should come through to the midas. I was talking about Torah. The language the Alter Rebbe used was hakel kel yankiv. Why is it? Because the problem was in the neck, in the Meitzar, in the Goren, para Yosef Eiref. Use the Kolel, which the Kolel is also happens to be in the Goren, happens to be in the throat, and use that for Aveda. So if the problem is in the Tzavar, so the solution should also be. It's interesting that also Negina is like that. Where is Negina, Begashmis, it's like that. Where it's happening on the one hand, it's a benefesh, it's a hergish zach, behazkilu meichendike tchunis kanal. But also Begashmis, where does the nigin happen? It happens b'halef. It happens by HaGoron. It happens in the throat. But there is also another mahalach. I think that this is an important thing which over here in our Mamorim it's not mentioned, but it's something that the Rebbe spoke about a lot, and it's also a very practical thing. Hakel Kil Yankiv, meaning Poshet, to literally use the voice. Especially Leil HaSeder, it says, and the Rebbe brought this many, many times, is that it says in Siddur Arizal that the Haggadah should be read B'Simcha Rabba u'B'Koil Ram, to dafke use the voice. What's the mile of the voice? Se brengt arois the nefesh. As we know, Kel Meir Rakavana. In the first Ma'amim Ranat, there's Bariches, how you see Poshet by using the Koil, it amplifies the midas. It brings it out. So, again, our Aveda, the Mahalach of Chabad, that Chassidus teaches, is that we want to have Aveda Pnimis. Aveda Pnimis is that we're not mistapik with the Makif, with the Emes. We want that the Emes should become my own Emes. It has to begin with Meichin and bring it down into Midas. The problem is that there's a Meitzar. So, the solution has to be that the Meichin, which we know of, the Emes which is made in the Meichin, we're going to have to bring down into the Midas through the Meitzar. What are the Eitzes? So, Lesikum. First of all, Merir is just to soften the heart. That it shouldn't be such an action, shouldn't be so against. Secondly, we have to go back to what we know is the Meichin, what we know is the truth. Once we know this Emes, we could use a Nigin to transport this Emes, to transmit it that it should be Meir Ba'ala. Another way is Poshet, B'Koil Ram, if we say it. And even in Chassidus Chabad, in Tanya, we just learned it in Perek Mem Dalet, we also had this as part of the Sugya. There's a Seder Aveda of to use Liyishrogel al L'Shayne V'Koile. When a person says something, B'derech Memele Sekum Taros. What I know speaks more to the heart. So we're using the Goren. We're using the Goren for actually transmitting the Me'ech to the left, either in Negina or B'Koil Ram. The Emes, if we want to be Mesakim, what's this whole Seder Aveda? So the Aveda, the way you have it, Ben Adam La'atzmei, and then there's together with Chaverim, there's a Fabrengen. In a Fabrengen, we have all these tchuns. What's a Fabrengen? First of all, the T'nai is, there has to be some bittul. And for that, someone will for sure take care of it. There's some meridas. The meridas doesn't have to be dafka depression or dafka not depression. But a certain bitush. That this is the way things are. Mezakta the MSVCs. But that's all hachon. This is an important nekuda. In sometimes we get stuck on the hachonis in Aveda and we forget what the Aveda is. Amol, the Fabrengen could become so lebedik, and it's all about ein arein sagen the zweiter, and we forget that this is really all the hachon. It's in order to soften the person. There should be a klikibul, what we call bitushim, so we can't get stuck there. So midav yetzes, and obviously there has to be this seder Aveda, but that's the hachon. That's the beginning of the Fabrengen. What's the Fabrengen itself? So if it would be a Peilish Atish, then it would be Negunim. Let's warm ourselves up. Then no, that's not the way it works. Peischim b'dvar malchus. And this is something that the Rebbe emphasized so many times. As the beginning of the Fabrengen hebt zechon with a vort chassidus, with something objectively true. Say hebt zechon mit meichen. What's the problem? That could remain in meichen. So we have the bitush, very good, and we have the meichen, but the meichen remains in the meichen. How are we going to reach the lev? So if we've been softened up with bitush already, then a nigun will be able to bring the meichen into the midas. And that's the shlav pasha. This is the Seder Aveda. We know we have b'Meseira, it's already hundreds of years, that this is the Seder Aveda, this tzir, the way a Fabrengen looks. Says da the meichen, afterwards the negine, which is what? To bring down Ba'alev. Why don't we start with the Negina? Because it would be nothing. It would be Samach, it's all about within my own hergish. We haven't invited a lakus, we haven't invited anything true into myself. Amol, there's also Pashat, by saying it. And there's a value in Pashat saying. And therefore, I'm all that man chazeren. And the chazeren of word by Fabrengen over and over again, this is a chelik of the Seder Aveda. The repetition. But it's not a mantra. We have to be very careful over here. It's not. So therefore, just say this 1,000 times. It's a hizbonus. It's coming from a derher. Oh, but this derher, which I know, now I could repetitively say it, or memela, bring it out, that it should come through the garden to make this bridge between the meichen and the midas, using sai the negina and sai the hakel yank. Just laher, I see Moshe Or writing over here. The difference between a Fabrengen and a kumsitz. This is just a noch a wichtige nekuda. I'm not sure exactly what the hagdara of a kumsitz. But if a kumsitz is only nigunim sa'anachanami, then that's a very good. But this is also an important nekuda, the difference between negina and music. Music does not do the same thing. Hakel yankiv, this kayach which we have to connect the meichen to the midas, what negina does is it relaxes a person, it warms up a person. It's not bringing me into the thing. It's makif. Negina is, and the mezetes bepashas by Fabrengen, it's very much, everyone experiences it themselves. You could come, you could hear of art, you could hear people singing. The only way to actually bring down the meichen into the midas is if it comes from my garden. Pashat, because it's my meichen, has to reach my midas, and if I say it, then that itself has value. No, there's a something that Rebbe kocht in a lot is as mit Chazer and Chassidus, I have to Chazer Chassidus even when there's no one that should hear it. The Rebbe once said in Tafshin Yud Beis that if there aren't enough shuls for Bachram to go to Chazer Chassidus, then a few Bachram should sit down in some 70, and they should chazer to each other. The etzem inyan of chazer in Chassidus, Pashat talking, saying the inyan, that itself gives chayes, that speaks to the person. Does a hakel kel yankiv, redden in divrei Torah, the pashtus. It brings out. So da geschmacke wort, mir sagt, afilu kulanu chachamim, kulanu nevenim, kulanu yedim esatera, mitzvah aleinu lesaper. So, you see often that people, you bring a Lubavitcher to a friend shul, he'll talk. You ask him to go on Ta'alucha, you ask him on Mifzoim, anything, he'll say a story, at Reden, when Yitzias Mitzrayim, there's no problem. There's going to be a few Chassidim sitting together, so it's much harder to verbring. Well, I'm the Darshan, I'm the Mashpia, you're the Makabel, what we're playing over here? Epistati and Mami, and you're going to take different, what are we doing over here? It feels... Or it feels it's unnecessary. So sagt man, afilu kulanu chachamim, kulanu nevenim, kulanu yedim. Even though all of us are Chabadskers, we're all Chassidei Chabad, we're all the Baviches around the table. Mitzvah leinu lasaper. There's a mitzvah poshet to say it. To say it. This is the Keich Yitzias Mitzrayim. Tza'aroizgin, that it should go from the Meichen, it should come down into the Midas, it should be transmitted through the garden. Poshet, to say it. We should take turns saying it. The Sidor Poshet Inyan in Zog. This is all Yitzias Mitzrayim bepashtus. Going through the Meitzar HaGoron, the Meichen should be meir ba'alev in the Fashidna Efanim, through his bonanus, through Negine, through Akel Kel Yankiv, to bring out. The Rebbe's Hadgasha Aber is a new tifkeit in the whole Sugya. So we don't have too long to get into it, but just Al Kopanim Bekitzer, a Nakuda from the Maimon Yud Aleph Nissan Tavshin Mem Gimel. It's again an opportunity, much in Me'erer given, but it's again to be Me'erer that this Maimer is a beautiful Maimer. It's very geschmack to listen to also. Tonight is Yud Aleph Nissan, it's a good time to watch the video, to listen to the Maimer audio. It's pashat to geschmack to follow the Maimer. Very, very hasbaradik, and it's negeh to unsere Sugi. At the end of the Maimer, the Rebbe asks a kasha. L'cheire, how could a person bring from the Meich to the Lev? L'cheire, the Eibusha designed this Meitzar. So there's a built-in problem. So the Rebbe answers, and said then a pasuk from the Kapitel, Final of Nissan, Ani amarti alekim atem uvnei yalin kulchem. The Eibishter says, alekim atem. You're a shtik Eibishter. B'tzalmenu kidmusein. Umemele. The approach to penetrating the Meitzar HaGoron has to come from a clarity of identity. And then, if the Yitzia will be an Eifen of Alevecha, it will be that I'm not mugbul, therefore it's going to manage to penetrate. This word brings in a whole new lichtigkeit in the Aved of Yitzias Mitzrayim. So let's just take a minute to go to the Maimon from Yisrei in Teira'ir, just to properly understand what the Alter Rebbe is doing over there. And over there, Take Behemshech, Mamish, from the same Maimon, the Alter Rebbe goes back to Meitzar HaGoron and says, and this is the Eimek HaAveda of how to deal with Meitzar HaGoron. Bichlal, we know the famous Maharal. The Maharal that the Rebbe kocht sich in them over and over again, that the uftu of Zman of Yitzias Mitzrayim is that we used to be be'etzem avodim and we became b'nei chayr. There's a famous kasher, Hashat Avdin. Right now, how could we be celebrating chayris? Well, it's only a quantitative or qualitative difference that this was a worse galus and this is now a schwachere galus compared to Mitzrayim. No, the Maharal says no. The uftu of Yitzias Mitzrayim was that we became b'nei chayr. now we're in Golus. That's technical. And he says the Lashon that the Mikre can't take out of the Etzem. The fact that Lepoil it's like that, Grade the Metzias is, technically when we're in Golus, that doesn't in any way negate the real truth that we're Be'etzem B'nei Chayim. Now, this Maral is a word. How do we understand it? Or the Besser gefragt, in what way? If there is no way where you could show me that Be'etzem really, I'm not in Mitzrayim, I'm a Ben Chayrim. So, who says that before we were in Mitzrayim, we were Be'etzem Avad? Then we came out of Mitzrayim, we became Ois Avad. Elamai, Lepoil, technically it looks the same. If it looks the same, maybe it is the same. So the Alter Rebbe in the Maimer in Yisrael Zocher Yom HaShabbos Lekatchi in Terei says a meridical losh. And Tavshin Chav Dalet, the Rebbe spoke about this by the Fabreng in Leila Seder, by Arichis, and it's printed, interestingly enough, in Yutis Kislev in Chelik Hei, in Lekutei Sichos. Beautiful Sicha, where the Rebbe is Mevair, the Inyan of Yitzias Mitzrayim, Be'emek, like it's in a way, maybe the most Yusedistic Sicha in Lekutei Sichos about Chag HaPesach is Yutis Kislev in Chelik Hei in Lekutei Sichos. It's Kedai to see. The Alter Rebbe in Terei says like this: Mitzrayim is Seder Ishtalshelus. And because you're in Seder Ishtalshelus, by definition, there's an Esinas Mokim Yocheli is Beis Avad. Obviously, Seder Ishtalshelus is Kedush. But because you put yourself in a Geder, so any Geder by definition also allows that there should be a Hagbala. And therefore there could even be a Mokim for Klippah. So, obviously, Chesed Atzilus is Kedush. But Chesed Atzilus itself is saying there's a concept called Chesed. So there's an Esinas Mokim for Lahepech. Therefore, Avram Yotzim Mimenu Yishmol. So the Alter Rebbe brings this dogma. So Yocheli is Beis Avad. Before the Yidden went into Mitzrayim, Avram Yitzchak and Yankee, before the going in Mitzrayim, they weren't Be'etzem B'nei Chayr. Why? Either Lepoil B'nei Chayr. True. But the way they're B'nei Chayr is that Lepoil B'nei Chayr. But Yocheli is Beis Avadim. It's Shayach in Inyan Geret. The concept of Hagbala is Shayach. Why? Because there's an Esinas Mokim for Klippah. Any Ishtalshelus, any system, there's always a Lumaz. Therefore, the Hurad Mitzrayim, once they went into Mitzrayim, like the Lashon is over there, is once Yosef was Hurad Mitzrayim, the Lashon is always Alekim, Seder Ishtalshelus, Tzimtzum, because he became Mugbal. So not only potentially Yocheli is Mitzrayim, Yocheli is Beis Avadim, he actually came into Avadim. He became Avid. He became limited. That's all if my relationship with the Eibishter is in Seder Ishtalshelus. So it's a muflede gezach. Chesed Atzilus, Avram is Mimei is Avram Ba'aretz Lo Yitzrachti Lasis Malachti, because Chesed, Avram is a Merkava for Chesed. But what is he? He's a certain tzir. What happened in Yitzias Mitzrayim? Ki li b'nei Yisrael. The Eibishter took out the Yidden, and he said from now on, a Yid is be'etzem connected to the Eibishter. It's a new identity. Once we've re-established what the identity of a Yid is, you could put him back in Mitzrayim. Technically, he could be in Mitzrayim, but that's not who I am. I'm not going to become Mugbal Lefiza. Therefore, even though a Yid comes back into Golus, the Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Atzmistic thing, which was Nizgal in Yitzias Mitzrayim, that be'etzem, who am I a Yid? I'm be'etzem connected to the Eibishter. That thing it makes, like the pasuk the Rebbe brought, B'nei Elyon Kulchet, Elikim Atem. My approach is in ganz anders. Let's bring this back into the Meichen Amidus conversation. It says Bepashtus, just to clarify. Bepashtus. This is like a whole different language, the language of Cherus. Zman Cheruseinu, that the famous Maral that the Rebbe always brought, that a Yid is be'etzem b'nei Chayrin, and it's not shaykhis to any union of Golus. Wonderful. But when we're talking in Aveda Pnimis, Now the Meichen should come into the Midas. What's that Sultan? Over here, I have to find some kind of, like we say, a Kel Yankiv, the Kel Ram, the Nagina, V'chulu, different efanim in how to bridge this gap. Do zog the Rebbe in the Maimer, and it's beautiful the way it's in the Maimer over here. And if you see in Yisra in Teirah, the Aved of Meitzar HaGoron comes beferish b'hemshech to that. Zog the Alter Rebbe no, because a Yid is higher than Ishtavshalus, so he has a different identity. Therefore, it's going to be easier for him to penetrate the Meitzar HaGoron. What's the kesher? The word is bepashtus. If the only reason I should feel this way is because I understand this way, then the Meitzar has a day. But if the reason I should feel this way is because this is who I am, so that what kind of day does the Meitzar HaGoron have? I have a different power, I have a different ammunition to deal with the Meitzar HaGoron. I'd say in Pashat Sprach, if I understood somebody's mind, Elamai, I don't feel that way. Good. So I have to have, I struggle with the Meitzar HaGoron to somehow cross that bridge. What happens if somebody tells me, you know, that person is your brother? Or that person is, this is I. This is l'chatchila me. The reason I should feel this way is not because it makes sense. It's because this is who I am. So the whole Meitzar HaGoron is a technicality. So obviously I still have to have any systems. I have to have the Kolel Dach, I have to have the various techniques. But they are all techniques in order to be megala a truth which is be'emes hazeh. That it's natural for a Yid to love the Eibishter. I'm not creating a love. And what I'm doing is I'm connecting to something which is a chatchila truth. So what kind of blockage could get in the way of that? So the whole kiseitz l'milchama is an alei vecha. Ich steh hecher melachatchila. I'm not mugbul in this tzir. So to summarize, what we've done today is, first of all, a kitzer of our sugya from the past 2 months of the Aveda Pnimis of Chabad is that the Meichen should be Meir B'Hamidus. And the only way to do it is through penetrating the Meitzar HaGoron, which gets in the way. How is this done? Through Miriris, in other words, Abitush, as Achone. But then there's the bringing the emes of the Meichen into the Midah through the Kel Yankiv, through the Nagina, through the Kel Ram of the Haggadah, the various Efanim of bringing the emes and Pashat engaging in myself, using this voice which I have, which is Mechaber the Meichen and the Midas. But now we're seeing Ba'emek Yosef that what's going to give that gufa the power, the confidence, why should it work, is when I have a clarity of identity. If melachatchila, let's say bepashtus, before I come to the Farbrengen, this is all how the Farbrengen is going to work. If before I come to the Farbrengen, it's clear who I am. I'm not coming over here to create something. I'm not coming to become a Yid. I am a Yid. The purpose of this Farbrengen is, in order for me to get in touch with that, in order for that to bring it out, then the whole Seder HaAveda, which will remain exactly the same, but with the Rebbe's Hadgasha, it's going to become a Lichtike Seder. It's all in order to be Megala this Amis. And Kanal, it's Kedai again to see this Maimer inside, or to listen to the Maimer from Tavshin Yud Aleph. It's Kedai to see the Maimer Zachas Yom HaShabbos Lekache in Teirah, and Ba'archav Yisera in the beautiful Sicha in Chelik Hey Yutis Kislev. Good. Someone just wrote in the chat. Oh, so someone just asked, if it's Inyan Atzmi, knows once we've reached this point, why do we need the bittul of Meichin or Meichin, the whole business in the first place? Very good. Oh, so this is important, a very important Bavarich. We've just made full circle. If we're going to remain in a place where it's only the Etzem, so we're back to the Baal Shem Tov. We're bankrupt. The whole word of the Alter Rebbe is that I should be Meir Beifim Pnim. We're trying to figure out a system how the emes of Meichin, the emes of Elikus should be meir b'halef. So beforehand, you could be megala the emunah. What's the Alter Rebbe say? No, the emunah has to come into seichel, and seichel has to come into midas, and it's going to become ashavei salavavecha. The person in his keiches ha'giluyim, the person kameshahu in real life is going to be permeated with Elikus. What's the etzem over here? The etzem is empowering that. If I have this clarity of identity, then when I come to the Aveda, if it's Aveda Satfila, if it's Aveda of Fabrengen, if it's any kind of Aveda, if it's the Aveda of Leila Seder, it's all going to be bringing this thing Ba'ifim Pnimi, but because I have this emes. In other words, you have to have the Yisod of the Baal Shem Tov as Ayid is Ba'etzem connected to the Eibishter. Marti Alekim Atem of Neyel in Kulchem. Therefore, I could go into the battle of bringing the Meichin into the Midas, the Aveda Pnimis. But if I neglect the Aveda Pnimis, I'm not going to be using the Meichin for the Midas. I'm just going to be going directly from the Etzem to the Midas. No, das doch Perish Chassidus, so it's weiter. It will all remain Beifim Makiv. It hasn't come Beifim Pnimi. What we're looking for is Beifim Pnimi to bring in the Emes. Let's just sharpen that. Because we were making Litzanis of a person which is using only his midas, and now we're saying this is the Baal Shem Tov. Just to clarify, it's two different things. The Baal Shem Tov is Megala the Etzem of it. There is another Seder Aveda which people have, which is to begin with midas. It's not the Etzem and it's not Meichin, it's Stam midas. That is what Meitzar or called the Kumzitz. That's Shtusim. That's nothing to do with Avodas Hashem. That's just all my own inspiration, inspiring myself from myself. So I'm wallowing in my own schmutz. I haven't in any way reached Elikus. We're talking over here is that it begins with the emes. This emes could begin from a place in Amunah, or if we wanted to take us Beivim Pnimi, so it's going to come through Meichin, and the Meichin is going to come and influence the Midas. What the Rebbe is doing over here in this Maimer is saying that the two inyanim of Aveda Pnimis, Meichin being Mashpi and the Midas, and this Atzmi is the inyan of a Kesher Atzmi with the Eibishter, not only are they not separate Avedas, but Fakert, it's Haba Hatalia. The only way to actually go zug into the Aveda Pnimis that should work properly is if we're going to have this confidence and this clarity of who I am. Maybe just for the Fabrengen, for Heint Banach, it's a nicht stam as Yudal Fnissen comes as Achana to Pesach. If Pesach is in of Yitzias Mitzrayim, so first you have to tanzen Yudal Fnissen, Neilad Machine, Shol Yisrael. First you have to have a Moshe Rabbeinu. And then Moshe can take us out of Galus Mitzrayim.
There's room for one question?
Sorry?
There's time for one question?
Yeah, sure.
No, I thought that there was a shtickle mahalach, but maybe I wasn't picking it up accurately, that, as you mentioned before, the Alter Rebbe mentions the challenge from Meichin to Midas is carrying over the simcha of Meichin to Midas. In another mimer, we learned that Meitzar HaGoron represents also darkness where there's a lack of simcha. And I thought I picked up that the solution also is through simcha. In other words, you didn't mention that as a pitaron that was introduced in these maimarim, but I thought somewhere I picked up on that simcha was the way to ultimately push through the Meitzar HaGoron. But I'm just curious if that was something that was stuck there.
I think it seems to be saying over here that the mahalach is, I may have missed it, but I think that Hadgasha is that the simcha is the Aveda. Now, the way we're describing is, how do we get to the simcha? Yeah? How do we get to the simcha? Which is Gili Alakus B'Me'ech Ba'alev. The way I do it is through the Simcha is the overarching theme over here, which is Klolos Inyan Avedis Hashem. It's all called Simcha. That's the general framework. Gerade that you're mentioning it, it's important to emphasize again. This is something that the Rebbe mentioned so many times, that there's no bigger Simcha than the Simcha of Leila Seder. And in a way, it's more than Hakafis, and it's more than Purim, and it's more than everything. This inyan of Simcha, because L'chura, b'pashtus, it's mamish unsere Wort. This is the Yitzias Mitzrayim, is the Aveda of Simcha.
Okay, so one more last thing about the Maral's Vart and the way that Rebbe explains it. So it's not that there cannot be the same Avdus or even worse, like Manashtana Alayla Zed, that this Gullus is the worst. The difference is what it does to the Yid and how the Yid could win over it. But the Gullus itself, the Avdus itself, could taka be the same.
Yeah, theoretically. Even though, I mean, there is also a difference. It says that in a way, Galus Mitzrayim is worse than this Galus, because it incorporated all of Klal Yisrael in one place. There's various differences between Galus Mitzrayim and this Galus. But
no, but the Rebbe Shos Eiden's Vart, Manashtana Alayla is that this is taka worse. Right.
Right. In a way, Yesh B'zeh Mashem B'zeh. Yesh B'zeh. Obviously, it's a Cheshach Kafel and Mechupel Mamish in a way. Yes, but like you say, that's not the point. It doesn't make a difference. The Vart is that the Etzem Yid is in a different space now.